So hello and welcome everybody. I am visiting the Italian Gardens today, which is in Kensington Gardens, which is part of Hyde Park. Now I'm fascinated with these gardens because I believe they were actually using forms of electroculture back then. And this is 150 years, 200 years ago. And I believe that the Great Exhibition, there was a huge change in this shift in energy and how we use that energy. We kind of went a different direction. And we've kind of lost that knowledge for reasons we don't completely understand maybe, but we definitely lost that knowledge. And I'm here to investigate these gardens, have a good look around at the history. We're going to see the Italian Gardens in Kensington Gardens, which is part of Hyde Park, which is where the Great Exhibition of 1851 was held. There is so much history in this park. I thought it would be interesting to investigate, as this was most certainly once an ancient Druidic settlement. According to history, the Italian Gardens were built in 1860 from Prince Albert to Queen Victoria to show their love for Italian landscaping. These gardens are on the western side of Hyde Park, next to the Serpentine Lake. The Italian Gardens are beautifully landscaped gardens. Calm waters of the lake gently reflect the surrounding trees. There is a lot of beauty and awe in this garden, and it's built on lay points of the earth using the earth's energy. We're in winter at the moment in UK, but this garden is stunning in the summer. It really makes you appreciate the tranquility that nature brings us. The layout of the garden is based on the Osborne House on the Isle of Wight, which was a house built apparently between 1845 and 1851 for Queen Victoria and Prince Albert as a summer home. They built a lot of gifts for each other. The Isle of Wight was once used as the training ground for the male and female Druids. Also the Isle of Brownsea and the Isle of Man. Also, London was called Louisdom in Irish Gaelic, which translates to Shining Fortress, which the Romans called Londinium. So this whole area has a sacred geometry to it and somehow connects to these sacred isles. The Druids built many sacred sites all over Britain. You can see the royal connection can be found within the gardens, where the initials of Queen Victoria and Prince Albert are engraved on the walls of the pump house. But again, were these added at another time period? If we go with the official narrative, when these gardens were built, it would have been just after the Great Exhibition of 1851, and these parts in the park could very well be items from that World's Fair. But when you look at this precision and the alignment and everything that this garden is, this was part of Kensington Gardens and part of Kensington Palace. Maybe they even powered the palace. We might just look at it like a normal park, but it was electrified. These would have been planted in a way, the planting schemes, everything about it would have harnessed the Earth's energy. But it's so far gone from what we live by now that it seems unreachable. I mean, the way we've disconnected from these kind of way of life and just kind of ignore it, really. It's quite amazing how something so in your face, planet Earth, all around you, nature, all this natural energy, and we just ignore it, or we're trained to ignore it. Most do not realise, but the population of London was pretty small at about 1.6 million before the Great Exhibition of 1851, but by 1860 it doubled to 3.2 million and shot up further to 6.7 million by the 1900s, which was the Industrial Age, where London was covered with soot and a lot of people. These Italian gardens were built all over the world because of their great style and grandeur beauty, or maybe because the design was used for another functioning purpose. Were these gardens built like circuit boards? These gardens were built for optimal plant growth, also to enhance the well-being of people. Healing, also commonly used for meditation and prayer. If you plant the right metals and stones into the ground, you will be able to create frequency fields. And even one step beyond that, they would have even planted certain plants and these botanical type of leaves and different plants that would emit different types of frequencies, and this would enhance the environments that they were in. This would all be wired into the electroculture. It's a really old science that I think we're only at the beginning stages of understanding. It is a type of technology, although this is science, this is a type of technology. With the age we live in today, it's just so different how we see the world, so it's never going to work the same in the reality we live in today. The world is all based around frequency and sound. It's how we tune into it. We most certainly have used this type of knowledge in our past, and I see the 1850 period as an important turning point in our history, because so much information seemed to become unavailable or just forgotten knowledge, which ultimately I believe it didn't fit a purpose and an agenda, and where somebody wanted to march forth with this industrial age, and look where it's brought us to today. Now that's kind of interesting. Now you get the arches underneath, and maybe there's another level to that. You can see the flint in the walls as well, and this is round the back of the pump house, and you can see these are look like they're amazing original windows, and there's all the pumps right inside there still. There is certainly Tartarian features on buildings in London, and when you look at the huge arches around, it does make you question the true usage of these. Not every building with a dome or a spire on is Tartarian. They use this certain technologies in certain parts of the world. Now, there is obviously Regency architecture and different types of levels of architecture, so it's very difficult to pinpoint exactly what is Tartarian and not. By Tartarian it means a functioning telluric energy building. That was their knowledge. How much of Tartarian influenced London we'll never actually know, as London has transformed and been built over so many times over the years. What I've never noticed before, that is actually a swan on the side there. And yeah, it's got a lot of symbolism, right? Although we come and visit this as a tourist spot in London, and they of course feel great to be in with the beautiful design and being in nature, these gardens' original purpose would have been built to use for electroculture, like a circuit board and the ley lines operating like the wires. They were designed for a much bigger purpose. Yes, of course, for beauty and elegance, but the main importance for these is they were built on nodes, which are two ley lines crossed over each other. So I think these were once able to pull the telluric energy of the earth and used as small generators of electricity for the palaces and the buildings located around in the area. They probably do still emit certain frequencies, just as nature does, but if this was fine-tuned like a symphony, imagine the world we could live in. The Italian gardens in medieval times were built with the walls being made of flint within the grounds of the palace or the castle, where they used to grow fruits and vegetables. But was the flint to help electrify the ground? Were they using a type of electroculture? It would not have been called that back then. But did our old world understand frequency in a whole other way that we do not understand today? They were using magnets to navigate around the world in the 12th to 13th century, so they did understand magnetic power. So there would have certainly been an understanding to frequency. So this part of Hyde Park was once the private gardens to Kensington Palace. Kensington Gardens was originally the western section of Hyde Park, which had been created by Henry VIII in 1536 to use as a hunting ground for deer. Although the creation of the hunting ground is classed as its official opening date, the area now known as Hyde Park was used by local monks long before Henry VIII was hunting deer in it. The monks of Westminster Abbey used the ground for years as a place of worship and an area to grow plants and submerge themselves in nature. Not long after the king became king, the king claimed the land for himself and forced the monks to seek refuge elsewhere.
This land is very sacred, and most people would not even consider this idea walking around in this park today. This land would go a lot further back, and we have to remember the Dark Ages is a very distorted timeline, which I do not think we will ever know the truth to what actually happened during this time. But an old world certainly left us, something so different to what we have today, probably so surreal, most would not be able to handle the piece. You can see directly down here there is an obelisk, and on beyond that is Kensington Palace, and then back here this aligns to the pump house and the gardens that we've just seen. You can see how this ley energy is operating. You obviously got an obelisk along that alignment as well, which would have been something completely different in the old world, and straight up here you've got an alignment right through, and obviously the oak was the sacred tree of the Druids and still is a sacred tree. But my aim is to go around these locations in London and actually walk the ley energy. I believe that that is reactivating, and it's going all over the planet, this, as much as it seems far out. And you look around and you just think, where's it all gone? Where's this all gone? Where is this energy gone? And it's still here. It's a matter of tapping into it, and I believe that's what we can do through remembering. We can tap into these energies. And little do people know how powerful trees actually are and the energy they emit. They're re-renovating this building, but it's just you find these kind of random buildings over Hyde Park and random sculptures, nuggets of magic, you know. And if you look straight through there, that's the gardens in which we just came from. And that's the Henry Moore sculpture. I wanted to end up on the Princess Di Memorial, as again, this is on a major ley line. This is the Elfin Oak, and the bizarre fact about this tree stump and about this tree is this is the only tree stump given grade 2 listed status. Now that's interesting if you understand the ancient oak and its connection to the Druids. The wood was taken from an ancient oak in Richmond, which was apparently carved by Ivor Innes in 1930 with fairies and elves. I wonder what was in this location before. A temple? A palace? So I'll probably go exploring some more in Hyde Park, as there are some sites I want to take you. The more I look into the old world and history, the more incredible it becomes. Remember to keep the magic, keep it real, but also keep it surreal. They actually look like they're alight, which is really bizarre. Thank you for watching this episode on the old world London. There'll be a lot more to come in this series. Please subscribe if you haven't, and until next time, I'll see you then.